Hey,
Hey,
did you know the easiest way to create the Hangout is right in Slack? You do the / Hangout. Is that how you create it, or do you do it manually?
yeah, uh, I think the best way to know if it's recorded that would be to test it, correct? So next time I can do a little test on my own to see what
Okay.
happens. Okay.
Because you saw how mine showed up and said, click here to join the Hangout, right? So um, I think it looks like you manually created the Hangout. I'm just telling you from within Slack, you can type / Hangout, and then it will create the Hangout for you. You know, it says invite people. You just hit cancel. As soon as you do that, it puts the link inside the Slack thing, and then other people join from there. So it's pretty simple. So you don't have to do. You don't really have to. I mean, it does take you to another window on your browser for the actual Hangout, but it does integrate within Slack pretty well. So anyway, uh, so what I wanted to talk about was. Um, this particular bug. So I'm going to go over kind of what the problem was, kind of how I solved it, and hopefully not spend too long doing that, and then get into my process for creating the bug and how I'm going to, create the branch and do all that. So I'm going to share my screen, and share the entire screen. So first off, we've had this problem, and working with the DevOps guys, we've kind of had this chat going back and forth, and maybe I'll kind of go up. Really, they were saying, um, you know, about this USC DAS extract is that they start it and it does a DAS extract, and then the next, so it runs every day at whatever time, 4:30 or something, and then they the next time it runs, so nothing's changed on the job, it's scheduled within DAS, and it's the second time it runs, it goes out to the database, and it gets, and we'll just go look at that in the database, and this is in the tenant, it's in the config schema, the store procedure, and it's get latest DAS watermark. So it calls this thing. We recently added this part of the code to print out into the Postgres log the same thing that this is going to return. And we basically grab the min query that's active for this current database. So if nothing else is running, this store procedure is going to be the one, and it should give you right when it ran, which it does the first time you run, but the second time it runs, it gives yesterday's min start time, and it doesn't really change unless you make a change to the DAS job, and so it reloads its configuration, or you restart the service. And so it's like, what the heck is going on? So going back to this, so that's kind of what the problem was, and this logging, this raised notice, was to try to figure out what was going on, but really didn't know how to fix it. But I think I figured out. So asked him to send some information, and so he sent, he sent like what that raised notice puts in, and it has query start, and it's this one wasn't really a good indication of that. And then he sent stuff that was in the log, but kind of went back and forth. And so I'm trying to find the one where he okay, let me go over to Splunk, which is where so those Postgres logs are logged into Splunk so we can search them. So I searched for that notification, get latest DAS watermark, and then one of the things I wanted to show here is, doggone it, why did this thing just do this? Hang on a second, let me get this back. So there's this PID here, and you'll notice it's the same process ID, and these are all, but for instance, this is at 2:24, and then we look at the start date, it's 2:23 at 3:45. Here's the one that ran at 2:23, 3:45, and it returned the query start. So these two query starts are exactly the same, but they're run on different days. Now here's the one on 2:22. It has a different query start. It's 2:22 at 4:35, which is what we would expect. Its PID is different than this one, so this one ran. Something must have changed with the job, and you know, possibly the start time. This one's at 3:45. This one's at 4:35. So maybe they changed the start time of the job or something. So the PID changes. The query returns, you know, right now, basically now, for when that was run. And so these, and this, we're basically grabbing the time of the, and the reason we're doing this is we're saying, okay, from whenever you started last time, like let's say you ran last night, grab up to the time of the oldest running process on this database that's active, so that if an ETL was running, it would have one in there, and we wouldn't grab a date beyond when that ETL started running. Most of the time, this is the only thing running, and so it'll grab that the time of when this process ran. So the idea is that this watermark continues to change, but we don't go beyond something if something else is running, like an ETL. That was the idea of this. But between these two, they're run on different days, but it's returning the same time for that start time, which is what we look at. The thing that's interesting is they both have the same process ID, which I guess makes sense because we use a pooled connection, which I think ends up being part of the problem. So I was looking at what these were like, and so then I said, hey Roger, can you send me what's in the pgstat activity table for that database right now? So nothing has really changed. So he sent me this, and then I went down and I found, you know, this particular that particular PID, and then it's like, oh, this thing is trying to see where so the state is not active. It's idle in transaction, which I don't know why. I would have expected it to be idle, but it's like this connection is open. It's there. The connection pooler, I guess, is doing what it's supposed to do for this particular PID. What I suspect is that when the job runs again, it uses this same connection. This thing changes to active, and it doesn't have this select, you know, stuff that the DAS would be selecting out of a table. And so all of a sudden it would return this particular start time, and trying to see where start. Let me just look at where start time is. Hang on a second. So at this blah 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 state, query start is up above that. So query start is probably this this one here, and so query start. It might be anyway. Yeah, because he probably started it last night. But my thought is that it's basically because that transaction's being held. So moving on, I went over in here and said create. So I'm creating a new bug, and then you fill out this. You know, I put in kind of my title. I said this was for Babbage, and we can actually look at it. But this is I'm in Jira doing this. I assigned it to me, put in a description. But this is how I created the bug. The bug's now, the bug appeared over here in this to-do column, and I just picked it up and dragged it over here into this column, so we can actually look at this bug and what I put in there. So I kind of said, hey, it's a bug, it's assigned to me, it's Babbage. You know, said it's really DAS service with the tenant DB, and says the repro steps, and basically I tried to put in this description about what the problem was, and then I kind of said, you know, the probable fix is to get rid of the data source object tied to the connection pool after each job run to force it to recreate this data source on each job run. So without boring you about this stuff, kind of put some stuff into how I figured out what I think the problem is and what the problem is down the description. So this is how we create a bug going back to the Jira board for the active sprint. I put it into in development because I want to start working on it. You know, I click on it, shows up over here on this side. Now I want to create a branch. So apparently I have to log in. So this is saying I want to create it as a bug fix type. You know, it could be hotfix. I mean, it could be hotfix. It could be something else. I'm just going to create this here and decide how we want to release it, and I'm going to branch from master. And you know, this automatically goes in. And if I wanted to change the name, I could change it there. So I'm going to create the branch. And that all looks good. I'm going to kind of go back here. It's 2641. Now I'm going to go into source tree. So now I guess, sure. I'm going to refresh my repository so I can see it. Go down here into the remotes, and is it finished refreshing? Is it 2641? I always forget. 2641. Sorry. Short-term memory. So this is the one I want. Right-click on it. I'm going to check this thing out. Say OK. Local branch. So now it should be checked out. I kind of close this up, and now it's up here in my local branches, and it's bolded, and so I know that that's what I've got that I'm working on. They have changed this slightly since I think what I'll do is check out master, since I see there's a couple changes here. So I'll switch to that branch. I'm going to pull these changes down. And then I'm going to switch back over to my branch that I wanted to work on, check that out. I just want to make sure that this actually has everything, so I want to merge master into bug fix just so I'm working with the latest everything. I think that branch should have had everything, but I just want to make sure that my master's up to date with the repository, and now I've got my branch that's up to date. They've sort of changed this since I just updated source tree, so I'm usually you had like a working folder, and I think that's what this workspace is kind of showing your file status and history, and apparently they've added some more features there. What this should show is when I have a file to change, I should see it here, and then I can add my comments, decide to check it in or check in and push back to the to my branch. But it's all dealing with my local branch here, so should be familiar if you've worked with source control. So I'm going to get rid of this, and so now I'm actually gonna go in and make my changes. I think the problem here is that in this tenant DB object, when we get latest watermark, we do some stuff and we create the template. And so then if you look at create template, it says, hey, get the data source and then return a new JDBC template based on that data source. And so when you get the data source, if it's null, we go ahead and create it and add these extra properties. And this is where the connection pooler gets tied to this, or this data source gets tied to, it has a connection pooler with it. There is only one pooled object. And so, you know, we've had some other trouble with this. These properties are using the Tomcat connection pooler, and I've had some other problems. In fact, it was this one on this bug where we removed these settings because it would go, the job would run, and if it was taking longer than than 60 minutes, I believe it was, it would just cut the connection off, would just kill it, whether it was being used or not. And it was really fairly hard to track down when we had added this stuff. And we'd added the connection pooling for, because if you didn't do that, it was automatically using 10 connections. And so we said, hey, we're gonna set these ourselves, set it to 1, because it doesn't use a bunch of it doesn't use more than 1. And so it's, again, this is a single thread for a DAS job if you have multiple jobs, and it was ended up using for every job 10 connections, and it was making those connections whether you were using them or not. So then when we had set that stuff in there to set it to 1, we set this stuff, but it caused another problem. So I think what I'm going to do, at least my plan on this, is to add, and sorry that you have to watch me type. I think I'll just call it reset data source. And so then here, I'll just set I don't think there's anything on this, you know, to be able to really do anything. I mean, I suppose you could get the connection and then do something with it, but you still don't know whether the connection pooler's under the covers is going to do something. So my thought here was just set this equal to null, and then what we would do is we would call this reset in the code at the end of our run. And so basically added a new public method on this. Go over to job. This is the run where the thing comes in, it gets the execution context, or it creates a new execution context, and it initializes it. And in the initialize execution context, we call get latest watermark. It goes out and calls this tenant DB, and that's where the data source gets set up. And so my thinking is, you know, we do all this processing, so on and so forth, and then what I'm thinking here is that we're going to say, and this is in the, it's not in the yeah, I guess it's in the execution context. I don't think it is. I think it's in the, sorry, just looking around for it. So it's in the configuration tenant DB. So back to where I was, up near the top. Reset data source. And I am going to, just for grins, and of course I've forgotten the name of my bug. It's AA2641. So I'm going to say okay, so I don't like to put too many you know, I mean, I try to put enough comments, but I wanted to say kind of why we're doing this. So, you know, this is my fix. Is at the end of the run, we're going to just null out that particular. We're going to null out that particular object, so that when this thing runs again, it'll be forced to create it again. So I would, you know, normally here then. Look at my unit tests, make sure that those, you know, I feel that those are up to date, I don't know if I'm going to do anything for this particular one right now, and then I would want to do my unit tests on this. I'm probably going to pass this off to Ryan and see if he can test it for me tonight. But I might so what I would do here then also is over here in the DAS, I just go into the build, make sure that this thing builds and runs the existing unit tests. And so I would probably also go through either running it in a Vagrant box, or more likely take the jar file and dump it out into my existing DAS server in the vCloud, and then run it there and make sure this is a pretty innocuous change, so I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, with a bigger change, I'd need to do something else. So just making sure this is this is doing the build. Now it's building the test classes, it runs through the test. That part looks okay. So if I'm ready, I go back in over here, and I look at my file status, and I see that I changed two things. I put this reset in here. That looks good. And then I also added this new public method. So then here I would say, I would put in my comment, and as convention, and it ties back into the bug, you start this, or at least you have this in here, the actual bug number. And then some comment. And then I want to go ahead and push this. So I've staged them, so it'll, you can do a commit locally, but if you also do this, then it'll go ahead and do a commit and a push. So this will go out to my branch. I've got no changes here, so now I need to flip over here, and I need to look at to log in here to Stash. Apparently it didn't like that. I think they updated this whole thing, and so I've been having some trouble with this. I think they must have put a new updated the code and restarted the servers. So this is the analytics main. I'm going to go into here. There's looks like Ryan has some pull requests that I need to go in and potentially look at. So I'm going to create a new pull request. It knows my branch is usually at the top here, because that's the one I have checked out. So the source is my branch, and I want to go to master. Now, if this was like a hot fix, I would potentially pick some other branch that I wanted to go to, like a hot fix branch. These are the details. I'm going to add I'll say that looks like you. I'm going to add Ravi, although he's not much use at doing code reviews. And then I like to have more, but since we don't have that many people, but I'm going to go ahead and put Ryan, yourself, Ravi on here as reviewers, and then I'm going to create a pull request. So then if we actually go back and look at these pull requests, we see this one here. Now I can't check in until one of those reviewers goes through and says here that I can't merge. You need at least one approval. Where we set it to one is, when we get some more people in here, we probably want this to be 2, so you'd have 2 reviewers. So if you log in here, which you should, you'd come in and you'd see what this was. It's got a real nice diff, and you come in and you look at the it's like, oh, okay, you added this here, and maybe you've got some comments, so you would want to come in and say, whatever, or say, I think this is crap, you need to do something else. So it keeps a list of these comments. And then if I go back and go, oh, I'm going to edit that because I didn't even spell that right. But it keeps a list of comments. You can comment on the file, you can comment on the line. And then this is no longer bold because I just went through and looked at it. Now, if I go back in and go, oh my gosh, I didn't, you know, I need to make this private or I need to do something else, then I would go back over into my development environment, make the change, do another check-in and push, and that would get reflected here the next time somebody comes in and looks at this. What I've done for, even when we've been sitting next to each other, but especially for a team that's in different locations, is you know, I come in here and look at this, and it's like, what's assigned to me? And it's like, oh, I need to look at these two of what they're doing, and we can just go in and look at one of these because this is kind of our process. You know, it says what he's done, and then here's all the files. You know, some of them are removed, and so I would go in here and look at these things. A lot of these things are new. Some of these, the blue ones, are changed, and so it shows, hey, what's been removed, what's been added. It does a pretty nice job of, you know, actually what's changed on these particular lines. In the sort of bolded area, looks like he's changed the Gradle file as well, or added one. So, and then it's a list of the different commits that he's done, and so, you know, a person can look at those. So that's pretty much the process. What would happen is, once I have a reviewer, then I would come back in here to this merge button would be enabled, and I would be able to click merge, and then this will actually then do the merge between my branch and master. It gets merged into master, automatically kicks off a Bamboo build, and then we get notified of that. And just maybe for grits and shins, we go over to Bamboo. Apparently I have to log in. So our Agilysys Analytics, we pretty much do everything off of, there's some of these others, but it's really this master, and then there's the branches get built off of this. I'm trying to see. There's, you know, these other things that get, that are the sub branches off of master. But if you're looking for master, which is the real one, and you kind of see here's the runs. If you have an error, it shows up here. You can rerun it, things like that. If you want to go in and actually look at a particular run, and so we'll, you know, look at this one. The artifacts are here where it generated. The main thing is this analytics ISO. Then you can download that ISO and get it. You can look at the job log, so you can either download or view, and it shows you all the stuff that it's doing. It's basically running our build, and then the only extra step is it's building the ISO. So at some point, we would potentially want to change these builds. I wanted to, just since we're here, you know, look at the plan configuration. It's this default job, and really it checks out. It does the Gradle build, and then it creates the ISO, and then this pushes it to the repository, and this one's disabled. But this is how you kind of edit the Bamboo task. I think that the plan is they're trying to move to Jenkins, so just be aware that this is where the Bamboo builds get run. And that is all I've got for this one. So I don't know if we want to stop the recording, and then, or if you've got questions right now that pertain to this.
Well, no questions right now. I would, I don't know, maybe stop the recording.
Okay.
Do I see you in a while?
Well, oh, okay.
Or you have another meeting, right?
No, I'm fine. So let's stop this recording and save it, and then we'll move on to the other stuff you want to cover.
Okay, thank you. See you in a bit.
Well, we can just keep